The first thing up is announcements. Anybody have any announcements? Anything at all?
All my announcements have to do with the committee reports. So
okay.
I'm looking to upgrade now that I can breathe again. We're running 1805 right now. I might hold off a month and jump right on board to 1905, maybe, but I probably will do at least an intermediate, like a 1 monther on 1811 before just doing that, because we all know what could possibly happen if you don't go properly through the sequence of versions.
I don't know. I've never done that, so. But yeah, I can imagine. That sounds like all the announcements then. So, conference updates.
So last week we sent out a call for proposals for people who want to present at the conference. I will grab that link and put it in the chat while I'm talking here. Also, Jill has secured blocks of rooms. She had to do them at 2 hotels that are right next to each other because they've got their big chili festival that weekend, so no one wanted to give her a bigger block. And she said she should have the links for us to send out by the end of the week.
Cool.
So look for that shortly. That's pretty much the conference proposals are open until the end of the month. So if you want to present, we would love to see your proposal.
Have we received any yet?
No, not yet.
Okay.
You'll be getting at least 1, probably 2. 1 just me. I'm going to take that idea. I think Todd suggested it last month about doing a live install, but instead of actually taking up a whole conference session to do that, what I might put in my proposal is, because you have to wait for things. So like, for those that are interested in watching it, doing it during a break period and then getting to a certain point and then letting the machine do what it needs to and then picking it up again the break after that. And I've cornered Fred, I think, into doing an unsupported session, like a panel discussion. He keeps on conveniently forgetting that he agreed to do that, so I'm here to constantly remind him of that.
Okay. Anybody else have any great ideas? If you want to say something like, I'm thinking about this, we can all encourage you right now to do that.
Do it. Do it.
Yeah.
It'll be great.
Totally.
So I put the link in the chat for the form.
And of course, I should get to work on whatever it is I'm going to do. Lots to do. Working groups. That was, we were going to discuss.
We were going to talk about how we as an organization can better support those, and also talk about if we wanted to throw out there starting new ones in addition to the acquisitions group that had started.
Right. So there aren't a lot of people here today compared to the last couple of meetings. You know, the acquisitions group, what was Rhonda at Round Rock that kind of got the idea going that, you know, why don't everybody interested in acquisitions just get together at this time online and talk about acquisitions? So we've talked in the at the board meeting about what we could do to help support that kind of stuff. And to see if anybody else is interested and I don't know, what are the people that are here think? Does anybody else want to do anything like that? And if so, what can we do to help you?
I think it's a good idea. As everybody, I think most people here will recall, if you were at Portland, you'll definitely recall, the acquisitions group bore out of that general session that was part of the first 2 days of the conference, in which people that worked in various modules got together and started discussing things. It would be interesting maybe during the last session of one of the days of the conference, maybe to do that again, and use that as a possible springboard. If the board can put together some semblance of a skeleton of ways to possibly support that type of activity. One of the things we talked about at the board meeting last week was supporting them through use of a mailing list, which our Google Suite implementation allows for. And there might be other ways that we could do that too, especially if we go the route of getting our own Zoom license next year, like we talked about doing on occasion as well. So maybe if we can put together that type of framework and hold a session like that again, that says, hey, these are the things that koha-US can help you with. Maybe there would be, I don't want to use the word greater adoption because the acquisitions group just kind of happened organically, but maybe there would be, hey, look, we can do something with this and we don't necessarily have to do all the setup ourselves. The organization is willing to help us get this started as well.
Yeah, I think those are all good ideas. In my mind, I'm thinking of this like a support group, like we could have Voyager Users Anonymous would be a great, former Voyager Users Anonymous would be a support group that I would like to be a member of.
There was a reason Innovative plied everybody with alcohol at their annual dessert reception, which coincidentally was held yesterday or maybe on Monday. This is the IUG meeting.
Yeah. I was, thinking of support groups, thinking of you and Fred could be in the unsupported support group. Offering support for people that need support who are unsupported. So anything else about working groups? Everybody's so quiet today. Joining committees. Lizette is still the chair of three of the 5 standing committees. Todd is the chair of fundraising now. John, of course, is the chair of the finance committee. But if anybody else wants to join a committee, let us know. And if you want to chair a committee, Lizette would be happy to hear that.
True. Yeah, when we, are happy to have more people on any of our committees, more minds, more ideas.
It's worth noting, and I believe this is the case because I don't believe it's specified in our bylaws, you do not necessarily need to be a member to be on a committee.
Correct.
Have we actually made a call out to the general mailing list or the members list to do the same thing, to put out a call to see if anybody might be interested? We've got 56 members now, actually 57. And so because a number of them are new and because they're not necessarily attending this meeting or the board meeting, maybe a general call could go out to the list saying, if you'd like to sit on one of these committees, these are the options, these are what they do, this is roughly their commitment schedule. Maybe we would find additional volunteers that way.
Yeah, and that would be great. We also have, we're working on the statement of purpose for each one. I think the only one that I'm on that we haven't finished yet is development, and we're planning on having that done by our next meeting. And so then once we have the statements of purpose, that would be a good, we can send out a email, like you were saying, to the members list or the list at large with that.
I think that's a good idea, and I think Jesse just volunteered to serve on 3 committees. If you look in the chat box,
we can
maybe
even
not 3. Maybe I'm reading that wrong.
We can even come up with a few more for her. Hey, I am kind of curious. Jessie gets around quite a bit, and she talks to a number of libraries. So it makes me wonder about her with membership, promoting membership. I mean, she goes to conferences, she's doing demos, she's everywhere, constantly promoting Koha. help with koha-US membership. Just a thought, Jess.
I'd agree, Todd, but not the best choice of words there.
What did I say?
You said she gets around a bit.
Let's keep it in regular context. But yeah, I get it. Well, she just left Florida and moved to Philadelphia. Yeah, she gets around quite a bit. Sorry, Jess, not what I was inferring. Now I know what everybody was laughing at.
So we do have those three committees. According to the bylaws, John is always, or the treasurer is always going to be the chair of the finance committee. So, and Todd wanted to be the chair of the fundraising committee. So you should, Lizette, you should talk to Jesse and see which one you think would be the best. Yeah, that'd be great. And that'd be something that maybe the fundraising committee can work on, is trying to get Jessie some stuff to take to when she goes out. You know, she's going to a lot of different places, doing a lot of different stuff. Having some stuff to take with her that isn't always just the same stuff. Might be a good idea. Well, now we're down to committee reports. So, Lizette.
Yeah,
The next half hour is yours.
Well, I already talked about pretty much everything that's going on with conference right now. We're, working on getting Bare Bones scheduled together. We've got our theme, which is, I know it. Jessie's got koha-US pamphlets, trifolds to take with her. Patron Power Enable Our Users is our theme for the conference this year. And, we've got a proposal during the meeting. Thanks, Todd.
You're welcome.
And then I already really talked about the rest that we've got going on with conference. For development, we're going to do voting on our development proposals that we got earlier this year in June. We have schedule for that, so I'll send out information on the first Wednesday of June about that we will start voting, and then voting will open on the 12th after the general meeting and be open for a week. And then we'll have more information after that. Let's see. Education Committee, we're working on adding more information onto the Learn From Us section of our website. Just fleshing out some of those links that we've got. We started with links to the manual for a lot of the different areas of Koha, and then we're planning on, we have pages for some of them, like jQuery, that has links to multiple things like the jQuery library and other resources that we've made in the past or can link to. And so we're just continuing to gather more of those resources and make it accessible for our members in a way that hopefully is easy for them to find things. And let's see. And we've talked more about making like reference sheets that can be available to members and non-members through our Learn From Us website, part of the website. Okay. Those are my three committees, really. Does anyone have any questions about any of those? Sounds like no.
Sounds like no, yeah.
So Todd, would you like to talk about fundraising?
Sure. We are going to be meeting next Wednesday after the education meeting. And I'm just kind of curious. I went back and I took a look. I saw that Marty hadn't responded yet. And when I looked at her email, I wonder if it was inputted incorrectly. I think we left out the R.
Yeah, you need an R in my name.
You need an R in the name?
You need an R.
Can you just check that, Lisette, and just make sure? And I'll go ahead and I can add Marty, or you can add Marty and just resend it. But yeah, we're going to be meeting next week. I'm writing up the agenda, and yeah, we're just kind of assembling the team. If anybody else wants to participate, right now we're looking at pursuing a grant or grants, depending on what's out there. We do have a membership to Grant Station, so we can all kind of go hunting. But we'll be talking about all this information next week. If any of this intrigues you, please come participate. If you have experience writing grants, I think I know we can't count on Nate because RFPs just absolutely kill him. So I can't even imagine he wants to jump into a grant. I'm sure he'd probably shut us down in a heartbeat. But anybody who has knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to help, but I'm kind of time restricted with the RFPs that we're working on and stuff like that. So it would be tough for me to commit.
Definitely understood. I just didn't want to see your face start to grimace when you heard grant now on top of RFP. So that's about it. If anybody has any input or anything to share, even if you want to just come in and, you know, participate, listen, if you have some good ideas, committees, they always sound like they're very involving. I know how that can be, especially if anybody started off on like the prom committee back in the day, if you can remember that far back. Of course, that was high school. Nowadays, it's quite a bit different, and it does require some participation, but you know, you can throttle your own participation. If it's just good ideas, that's fantastic. If it's proofreading some of what we're writing, that can be very helpful as well. So you can get as involved as you want to. And that's about it. Thanks.
I have a question. This is kind of half fundraising committee related and half finance committee related. So since John's up next, this is probably a good time to ask it. Did we finally finish the membership drive with the Marshall breeding list? I think we were almost done with that last week, right?
We're still almost done with it. There's really not that many more to go out. The bulk of the work, over, let's see, 900? No, that's not right. Just shy of 900 invitations have gone out. The last batch that will go out is going to number less than 10. But it's worth that. We received the general 1 to 2% response for a cold mailing that mailings like this often generate. That's one of the reasons why our membership is up so significantly. Some people joined directly as a result of this messaging campaign. Other people, because they were encouraged to forward the message to others within their organization, appear to have joined that way. I'm going to take a more thorough look at the people that have joined since the campaign started and not really look at the username of their email address so much as the domain name, and see if I can find any matches among the domain names for messages that were sent out to more solidly get a response number. And just because sometimes people don't open their email until later, by the time of the next board meeting, when everything will be done, I'll have the final numbers, including numbers that I think are more telling, even if they're not necessarily going to be 100% accurate, about what sort of, not response rate we got, but what sort of opening rate we got. How many of us get mail that we just instantly throw into the recycle bin when we get home? Well, this is the same type of thing. It's just messages that never get opened. And the board will recall my comment last week that sometimes email programs will say they've been opened because they go through a spam filter, which opens them and does some nefarious malware checking. I'm going to count that as open because that's simply the response that the program that we used to generate these invitations sent out. But we're going to take a look at not just the overall response rate and joining rate, but also what happened in terms of opening rate of the email messages or problems that we had therein. I'll have all those kinds of numbers when we meet as a board in June.
Okay, cool. I couldn't remember last week if you said it would be done, if the last mailing would go out this week or by this meeting, but it was close.
It was close, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
There's like, I think I got 6 or 7 bounce backs that were not just generic. They said, oh, I'm no longer with this organization. Please direct your response to, and in the instances where it actually gave me another name to use, it's that other name that's going to go into this last day of send out.
Cool. I think it was, we've got a lot more members certainly than we did at this year, at this time last year. So I think it was definitely worth it. So.
Yeah, it was definitely worth pursuing, and this list will be kept so that if we decide to do something like this again, we'll automatically remove from consideration people that were emailed the first time around and just send it out to quote unquote new people on that list.
Okay, thanks, John. And now you can jump into the rest of the Finance Committee report.
The rest of the Finance Committee report, like I said earlier, we are currently, as of April 30th, at 56 members. That's almost the desired membership number that we were aiming for in the budget, which is 60. The big difference is, however, I preset it, if you will, to come up with the budget at 45 full year members and then 15 half, with the belief that perhaps a number of people would join when they signed up for the conference. And actually, that is what will happen because of the way we've got the registration proposal set up. Unlike the proposal, though, or the budget rather, all 56 of the memberships that are to date are, of course, full year memberships. So we're actually doing extremely well on the membership department. And it's very nice to see some of those new members actually joining us for this meeting today. Financially, of course, we're doing pretty well. One of the things to remember if you're looking at the bank account balance is that about $1,900 of that is the money from last year that will be set aside or has been set aside and earmarked for the development process. So yes, we've got quite a bit of money in there, but up to $1,900 of that will be distributed and dispensed once the development voting process is over. This having focused on the first quarter of the year, there's actually a more complete report about income and expense. One of the things that I've been grappling with for a while is how to account for activity for a year that is received outside of that year. So when I put the budget together, I talked about 60 memberships for 2019. Well, some of those people actually joined in December, and trying to figure out how I was going to take care of all of that was kind of puzzling to me, and I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do about that. So I've come up with what I call the concept of a membership year, which is how our budgets are written. The definition of membership year is listed on, I believe it's page 3 of this month's Finance Committee report. And membership year basically allocates funds for the time period in which they were intended. It's my belief that only membership and expenses and income related to conferences, if the conference should happen to move significantly time-wise, will ever be affected like this. Everything else will be just a strict calendar year representation. Calendar year numbers are what we would report out if we ever had to report them out, but the budget will continue to be written in a membership year style. In order to make this distinction a little bit cleaner, the next quarterly report, which will talk about the first half of the year, when that comes out in August, will be a little bit clearer in its distinction about money that was received outside of the membership year versus money that was received inside of it. Some of the work that I had been putting off because of my responsibilities here are now taken care of. We have a DUNS number now. A DUNS number is a necessity to file for any sort of federal contract or grant. We were probably assigned a DUNS number when I submitted our very first federal tax return, which for us as a small nonprofit is called a Form 990. Todd has that information, and so he can now use that information to apply for any grants. Margie is here. Margie, I'll be in touch with you shortly with regard to the review and audit of the 2018 finances. The membership receipts are all up to date, and I'm very happy to have gotten that all taken care of and straightened away. And I'll be filing, if I can ever remember to bring the organization's debit card. I keep on leaving it at home because all the organization's finances are at home. We've got a while yet to file our State of Kansas annual report, which is our only state compliance requirement, but we actually have until June 15th, so we're not running up against any sudden deadline. But all of that stuff, all of the stuff that's been sitting around for 2 months that last year I took care of before March is now in the process of getting done. And anything that was outstanding finance-wise will be taken care of shortly. Any questions from anybody?
I think we're good.
All right, that's it for the Finance Committee.
All right, well, I guess it's on to open discussion, bugs, issues, etc. And we put 1811 upgrades on the discussion today because most of us are Bywater customers, and they're about to start doing the upgrades for the people that weren't early adopters. So has anybody been going to the Bywater webinars? How's that going? I think there's one today, like in about an hour, isn't there? That's what I'm going to in about an hour.
Yeah, I forget which one that is.
Yeah, I'm going to all of them, so it's one of them that falls in that distinction of being one of them. Let's see.
Aaron said reports is today. What time is that one at?
Admin and reports, it's on my calendar at noon.
Yeah, noon Central. Yeah.
10. I might sign up for that one.
Speaking of, I can speak to the reports thing for those of you who don't have 1811 yet. I know they're going to probably show off the fun the graphs option now, but honestly, what I really enjoyed with reports is the fact that the SQL editor is color codes all the stuff now. So if you're used to writing that in a text editor that does that for you, it translates over really great, and it will auto tab, which is great, but also can be frustrating because it'll, like, I had one the other day auto tab me over like halfway across the text box, and I was like, yeah, no, I don't like that. But that's been really neat to catch errors and stuff like that. So
there is a bug on the reports homepage, and I'm going to pull this up so I can actually show it to everybody. I'll pull it up and share my screen. Take just a second here to get my test server up. So I don't remember which version it was. Here we go. Nope, not that one. Oh, come on, stop sharing. Let me find the right screen to share. Now I lost it. Now I lost everybody else.
I have our reports up if it's the HTML thing, right? On the reports page. I can show mine.
Here we go. I got it.
Okay, you found it.
So here in the HTML, on the main page, you can add HTML to this section here.
Oh.
And it's a system preference. I don't remember the name of the system preference, but it allows you to put any kind of HTML you want in that space. And so that's what I've got, is that all of that stuff. But the HTML doesn't read as HTML in 1811. It just shows up as text. So there's already a bug filed on that, and I think there's already a patch written. Mm-hmm. It's just that if you're using that, it may not be patched as soon as you go to the new version.
And that it's doing that in a lot of places. Like also if you have HTML in the notes for reports, it's not showing up properly. If you have HTML in the like in circulation notes for patrons, the ones where you have to go in and edit them to show it.
Lizette, has Nick already patched this stuff for you guys?
Nick patched that one for us, but I don't think the other ones had patches yet when we reported them.
Like Nick has repeated to us a few different times, they're not so much bugs, it's just things that still are being completed.
Yes. Speaking of that, though, Todd, maybe you can answer this. So I know one of our biggest things, one of the things that we ran into when we upgraded was the new, in the circ finds rules page, the max holds wasn't updating. Like you'd edit it or you'd create a new rule and everything was unlimited holds. And I know that has been pushed to stable for 18.11.05. Okay. I'm assuming that people who are not earlier, I know we're getting that on like Saturday. So I'm assuming that people who haven't upgraded yet will just go directly to
Correct.
1105. Okay.
Yes, and we're hoping it's going to be 1106, but it just depends on how 1106 comes out because we've got CoaCon and Nick's going to be in CoaCon.
Gotcha.
So, yep.
I can show you the other thing Lizette is talking about on reports at least. Let me go back to this. Come on, where did it go? So I use a lot of this stuff here. I put HTML in the notes so that I can do all kinds of crazy things in the notes, like have link, so that I can run the report just from one click. So any of that HTML that's in the notes is not rendering when in the new version in 1811. And what Lucas told me is that they're going to fix the HTML on the report's main page, but there's actually concern about fixing the HTML in the notes fields on reports. And I don't remember exactly the reason, but it was a security reason. So I went out and wrote a jQuery workaround so that if you want the notes to still have HTML, you can plug in some jQuery that will transform those into HTML. And I have it for the notes and the patron records too.
Okay.
I think Michael wrote that for me before he left FileWire, so it's been around for a while. But I should post those both on the wiki. I can make a note to remember to do that, like in 5 or 6 months when I have time to.
You have me wanting to like teach all of my frontline search staff basic HTML so that our patron notes aren't crazy looking. That's not going to happen.
I did it. We had an issue. And I had an issue at my old job, and we have an issue here where patrons, staff will create 2 patrons. So I would put links to the other patron record in the notes that all staff had to do instead of having to go look up the other account. They could just click on the link.
You can merge those now. You can merge those now.
Yeah, now you can, but
okay.
You know.
Yeah, well, before what was it, 1805? I don't think you could merge them before then. So.
Yeah. So I was doing that for years, adding the HTML in the notes, and then all of a sudden, all of those notes broke with 1805. But there were a lot of things that I was doing that for, and so consequently, Lizette has a whole bunch of notes that have HTML in at her job because that's where I started doing that. And now all over Kansas, in our corner of Kansas, there's all these HTML notes.
And that one they were able to fix really fast. There was already a patch for that, so he was able to just apply that one.
I don't think he applied a patch. I think he put in some jQuery. Because I think I still have the jQuery running. If it's not running, it doesn't work. So, but that was one I thought I'd let everybody know about. Are there anybody else that's on 1805 has had anything else weird going
on? We got complaints from on 1811, the catalogers, that the mark record edit looks a little bit different, and I can show the screenshot. So all the boxes are over here on the right, and all the titles for the boxes are like left aligned now, which just a lot of the catalogers don't like. I guess it's the first step in they're moving towards like this other view as part of updating the whole cataloging backend. And so that's something that just
was that Nick's explanation to you? Was that?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, he said that they're working on, and I have it up, I think. Yeah, there's been further work here on 22045. And that's where that second screenshot came from, but they're still working on it.
So essentially what you just told me is that every cataloger in my system is going to be calling and complaining about this. Because any change in cataloging, even if it's a good change, is going to be, why did it change? Why did it change? Why did it change?
George, how are you going to change that lemon to lemonade?
I just won't answer the phone that week.
My cataloger hasn't said anything about it. So either she's just like super like go with the flow, or she hasn't noticed. So could be either or. I don't know.
I've got like 48 catalogers,
Oh,
so
okay.
at least 30 of them are going to hate this.
Marty,
Jason's nodding his head. He knows this. He's going to have the same thing.
Yeah, we saw it in the upgrade webinar yesterday, and that was an instant. Oh my gosh! So
Marty, is marijuana legal yet in Alabama?
I don't think so. But
No, you
Barbara
might
is
want to
not
have her piss test. Sorry.
Barbara is not the kind of person that would partake, I don't think.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
See your analysis happening here.
Marijuana's not legal, but everybody has a still out by their outhouse, right?
Hey now. Hey, you know, I'm gunning to host koha-US in 2020, and so you watch it.
The fight is on.
I won't take you to all the fun microbreweries if it's going to be like
Um, anything else that anybody's noticed in 1811 that's...
Well, they added a stock rotation module that works differently than there's like 2 stock rotation tools going on now.
There's the floating collection or rotating collection.
Rotating collection,
Now
and
stock
then-
rotation, yeah.
And so I've been doing some testing with stock rotation and should know tomorrow if it works how we'd like it to, because from the code, there was some discussion on the bug before we updated, but from the code of the patches, it looks like it checks based on the last time that it went to the library. So if it goes out, say from Beauville to Moscow on a hold, then the number of days resets when it gets back to Beauville, which, yeah, not ideal. So hopefully for the next meeting, we should have more information about if it works like that or not.
Is that the bug Todd just threw into the...
Yeah, well,
I'm trying to find out, is that?
that's not the one. Let's see.
How about 22569? Or 22566?
Oh, wow.
No, these all look newer actually than the... No, though these are all ones I'm going to look at because they're all about stock rotation. No, I put in a bug for a test because of the stock rotation duration test 22373 because they didn't test it when they were making the bug, but it was for Well, it was like a much older bug actually that the patch was on. Yeah. 11897, and it has a whole bunch that it blocks of open bugs right now. So it's still...
Have you maintained activity on that bug? Did you put any remarks here lately and ask any questions?
Not lately on that one, because I was waiting for my test to be done, which should be tomorrow, and then I was going to update on the duration bug that I had put in.
Okay.
To see if it worked right or not.
I have one group of libraries that I think the stock rotation would be a good idea for them. So I'll try and look at the bugs that are related to it and see about adding myself to them and maybe making some comments to try to generate some more interest too, because I'd really like it to work the way that it really ought to work.
Yeah.
But if it's getting the data on when an item gets to the rotating branch based on the branch transfers, that's really gonna cause a lot of issues. So
yeah.
I wonder, since each one of us is sort of sharing bugs, I wonder if we shouldn't create some kind of a bug hit list on one of our drives that people can consult, and that way we can kind of rally the troops. We can send something out to the koha-US membership and say, hey, everybody go and put notes on this or put notes on that so we can get this thing pushed up. Because they're sometimes looking for activity, so maybe having a bug hit list could be...
That's a good idea.
Not a bug. just something I want to share because we have wanted it for a long time. One of the new things in patron accounts is the ability to do a write-off selected. We have some custom JavaScript from Bywater that on the payment side of things, it forces you to pick, it will not let you hit confirm until you've picked a payment type, because for our accounting purposes, we need to know how it was paid. And so we had to adjust that JavaScript so that you don't have to pick a payment type for write-off, because of course you don't have a payment type for write-off. So just FYI, if that's something that you are looking forward to, and if you are using that JavaScript, it'll need to be adjusted. And if you're not, it's a really fun JavaScript and makes my business office very happy because I don't have to go track stuff down.
Marty, if that's something you can share back with us, I think that's one of the things on our educational portal that we could probably add, as long as they had a write-up and instructions on how to use it.
Yeah, I think Lucas just has it in the intranet user.js, and it's commented out, so I can, or not commented out. It's I can grab it and throw it wherever it needs to be thrown.
Right on.
If you email to me, I can put it up on there.
I can do that.
Sounds good.
Which committee email address would you like her to use, Lisette?
Yeah, maybe just do education@koha-US.org.
Okay.
I have.
Sorry.
I have. I'm going to have to do some adjustments to JavaScript too, and this kind of might affect Margie because I see that she's here. What I have is JavaScript that when a patron or a staff member accepts payment for a fine or writes off a fine, it adds their logged in username and branch location to the note field, which makes it easier for, I can run a report to see who accepted money for a fine, but this actually puts it in the note field, so it's easy for everybody to see. And I'm going to have to adjust that to account for the write-off selected, and I've got that on my to-do list before we upgrade. Our upgrade isn't going to be till June, though, so I've got a lot of time to mess that up. But I'll try and share that on the community wiki and
I'm kind of curious when the acquisitions group is going to get together again. Rhonda, is that something that you guys have ongoing?
Unmute. Yeah, actually on my list of things to do this week is to send out the next invitation. We have it scheduled for May 21 or 22, whichever is a Tuesday.
21.
21? Okay. May 21 at 11 o'clock Central. So I'll send out, I'm hoping to do it today. I've finally figured out how to use the Skype that the city has and allow people to phone in if they don't have microphones, which we couldn't do last time. Everybody had to go through the chat thing. So I finally figured that out, and it just, now I can send out invitations so that people can call in, and hopefully that will enable more of a discussion that that makes sense.
If somebody wanted to participate and they're not on your email list, anybody here, I guess in particular, how would they reach you to get on that list?
They can email me at rkuiper@roundrocktexas.gov. I'm planning on posting on both the Koha list and the Bywater list, let people know the invitation's gone out. If you're interested in joining us, email me so that I can make sure, because I've tried really hard to get everybody's email addresses collected when they notified me after we had the first meeting. But I just want to make sure I didn't miss anybody that's expecting an invitation that didn't get one, or anybody that wants one.
it might blow up kind of quick, and it makes me a little nervous to mention this, but is the membership list that we're using, the email list, is that something that we want to share with Rhonda, or do we need to kind of keep that throttled back just because we don't want to hit people too much too often?
Well, I think everybody on the membership list is also on the koha-US mailing list. So,
right.
What I was going to say to Rhonda is that, before you got to the meeting, we talked about, working groups like yours and what we could do to support those kinds of groups. And so one of the things we mentioned is we could create an acquisitions mailing list.
Okay.
Just so that you could manage it it could be managed as a mailing list, and like any other mailing list, so that if people wanted to join a list just for people using acquisitions, we could do that. So we could create that for you. That's one thing we could do to help you with this group. Another thing that we talked about a little bit is we talked about next year buying a Zoom account for koha-US, so that if you guys wanted to do that way every time somebody does a meeting like this, it wouldn't be like on a different kind of software.
Yeah, I think that would be real helpful, because I think some of the problems that we ran into were, people not sure how to use the Skype that the city uses. It's a different tool. That would be like the number one thing I would say, is if there's a way to get a Zoom account that I could get access to. That would really be helpful, because people are comfortable with, I think they're used to using Zoom, especially if they're Bywater partners.
Okay, that's good to know for when we're planning the budget for next year, because that's something we talked about about adding to for next year's budget, to buy Zoom for the whole group, instead of, right now this is the Nichols Zoom, and sometimes we've used Jason's. Sometimes Lizette has used Layton County one, and sometimes we've met on Google Hangouts, which was really not as satisfying of an experience. And I really hate Skype, so.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I got to take off. I've got to meet with somebody before I leave to go over to Washoe. Nancy, I'll see you in just a little bit.
Bye, Todd.
See you later, Todd.
Bye, you guys.
Bye.
So we'll look at those things, and I'll send you an email about if you want to set up a mailing list, we can help do that. So it'd be something that once we get it set up, there would just be a page where people could go to sign up for it. So.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
Any other bugs or things going on? I did a phone call with Bywater this morning, and I was looking at all of our tickets and all of our open bugs, and so I thought I'd bring some of those up if nobody else has any bugs they want to talk about, or 1811 related issues. So
I just have one. The issue with RB Digital and Overdrive not showing a summary in the OPAC was backported to 181106. So that's something that came up in some of the webinars that was broken.
Oh, okay.
I put the link in the chat there.
There was another Overdrive related thing, which presumably would also be for RB Digital, and correct me if I'm totally repeating something, where the login link only worked on one page, and it worked on the account screen, but it didn't work in the search. Like, you could click log into Overdrive, the modal wasn't popping up, but I think that's been fixed. I'm not sure.
I think it has. I don't know what the bug is, but I think that we got that one. Yeah, it was pushed to 181105.
Okay, yeah, because we don't have it turned on yet, because we're waiting for that to be fixed, so that we're not causing any problems there.
I think they patched that one early for us, because we had just finally gotten it working, and then.
And we didn't have it turned on yet at all, so it was one of those, like, I don't want to turn it on if I'm not going to be able to, have functionality.
Right. That actually makes sense. That's like the opposite of the Microsoft way, isn't it? We can't release this software; it's got too many bugs. Microsoft they never say that. So.
No.
One other thing in 1811 is that in purchase suggestions, they added a permission for managing purchase suggestions, because in the past, anyone who could log in could actually manage purchase suggestions, even though they didn't have the link for like how many purchase suggestions on the front page. And now there's a separate permission for that. On the other hand, if you turn it off, it means your staff can't enter in purchase suggestions. So this morning I put in another bug, which now I'm trying to find the number 4, to have 2 permissions, one to add purchase suggestions and one to manage purchase suggestions, so that if frontline staff want to be able to add, they can. I'm going to write some jQuery to just hide that link from most staff members, that like manage suggestions link from the front page, until we can get this fixed.
On that same note though, because currently we have a similar issue with holds and holds permissions, holds priority, and pickup location is tied into the same permission, which is not good, because you want your frontline staff to be able to help patrons and change their whole pickup location. You don't necessarily want them to be able to change holds priority. So that is bug 18729. When we first were looking at it, Bywater quoted us, I want to say, $2,500 for it. It's had some activity on it since then. So it might be one of those things where, I know that the development thing is already, as far as what koha-US is funding, has already happened, but it might be something where some comments on it might give it more attention. Because we've just done it for purchase suggestions, it makes sense to do the same thing for holds. So.
Yeah, I know the bug that you're talking about. It's actually one of the ones that I have had. I think I was the original. I think Kyle posted it based on my talk with him.
Okay.
Because we had the same issue here, where most of our staff don't have the ability to move holds up and down the queue, but that
But you want them to be able to do pick location, because that's customer service. Yeah.
Well, and it's only on one page. They can do it on holds PL. I think it's on holds PL, but not on patrons PL or something. They can change the pickup location on one page, but not on another.
Okay. Well, that I do. So we just did a permissions audit and just removed the permission entirely, save for like managers. But it just means that when stuff happens, they've either got to call me or somebody else and get it taken care of, which is not the best, because patrons can't do it themselves. Once the hold is in a certain spot, it can't be fixed, so.
Yeah.
It just makes sense to separate it out to me.
And that actually reminds me of another cool thing from 1811, which is that you can revert hold waiting status now. So if someone places their hold for the wrong branch, if your staff has the ability to change pickup location, if they call and say, I just got a notification that I have a hold in Moscow, but I wanted to pick it up in Potlatch, you can revert the waiting status, change the home branch, or change the pickup location, and then check it in to send it to Potlatch or wherever. So that's something that we've been happy about. It doesn't happen a ton.
For something that's already waiting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or if something's in transit and they call to, well, no, not so much in transit, but, you can do it if it's in transit. You can revert the transit status too. So if it's coming to Moscow, you can revert it and change it so that when it gets checked in at Moscow, it would just revert, or it would go to Potlatch when they check it in here.
Where do you actually do that? Where do you take that action?
Here, I will.
Show us.
Yes. Let me just put something that's at my desk on hold for me real quick.
Oh, I see the button now. But yeah, you can show everyone.
Okay. Hold. Okay, so if you go to me, Guardians, can you guys see my screen? Did I do that one right?
Yes.
Okay. So here, you can't do it from the patron screen, which is kind of annoying. You have to go into the holds list for it. And then there's a button here that says revert waiting status. It does keep it as an item level hold because it had already captured that barcode associated with it. But then most of the time that's going to be fine, because if you're just using it to change the pickup library and check it back in, then it's going to be that same item anyway. So we've been happy with that here.
Cool. The other, one of the things that I've had a discussion with Bywater about 1811 is the email receipts for write-offs and payments. I like them on the one hand, but we have 51 different locations, and not all of them want them. But the way that the template toolkit, because it's a template toolkit notice, it's only getting data from certain tables. And so, the default installation of the template is for all libraries. And so I thought, I could copy the default template to one library, and then only that library would send the receipts when the patron pays at that library, but it doesn't work that way. And that's because when a patron makes a payment, there's no data recorded in the account lines table as to where the payment was made or who was logged in when the payment was collected. So there's no way for Koha to know, based on the data that's passed to the template, where the payment was collected. So they're either on for every library or they're off for every library. There's no way there's no way to customize them from library to library. It's one template. It's a one-size-fits-all situation, which if you only have one library, that's not a big deal. But for us, with all the different libraries, that I think is going to be an issue for some of our members. It can collect, because one of the fields, the borrower information is in there, so it can include the borrower's home library, but it won't send based on the borrower's home library. It's just not. It's not a finished. I don't think it's really a finished product yet if it can't be customized from branch to branch. So that's something everybody else should be aware of.
Is there a bug for that? That it's
not yet. It was something that I just figured out yesterday before the webinar yesterday, because I had sent them questions about it on Friday. I sent them a list of like 4 questions about those, about the account payment and account write-off messages. I like the fact that it works. I just don't like I think it's a good feature. It's just that it's either all on or all off. There's no way to customize it library by library, which every other message, as far as I know, every other email and print message can be customized on a branch by branch basis, but not this one, at least as far as I can tell. So
I'm just curious what the pushback you're getting from the branches who don't want an emailed payment receipt is.
The pushback is going to be, the pushback is going to be, we want ours to be different than, we want ours to say something different than what this other library says.
Like more than just what their branch name is.
Well, it's not going to be able to include the branch name. So it's only going to be able to send the data it's not going to be able to send any branch information.
I'm trying to think of ours, and yeah, I don't think it does that.
But yeah, we have this issue comes up all the time. The email, anything that goes out from email, there's some libraries want to customize it. And this one is one that I'm not going to be able to customize. I haven't had any pushback from them yet because they don't know it's coming yet.
Right.
But
I'm trying to think, how do we spin it? Because having turned it on, it's been really useful for us.
Yeah, I think it's totally going to be useful for us. And I think it's, and it works with payments made through the OPAC through PayPal. So that's
Yes, and speaking of that and JavaScript stuff, and I can send this to Lizette for the education piece as well. We made some JavaScript edits to that page so that it automatically sorts and puts the clickable things on top, as opposed to having to scroll forever to get to everything. And we also defaulted them to be all selected because we had the issue where patrons were paying them one by one, as opposed to selecting them all. Yeah. And my business office went, so is there a way? And I didn't want to put a minimum on it because I didn't want to do that. You did? Okay.
Yeah, we put ours at a $10 minimum, except one library wanted a $1 minimum.
And see, we don't have a minimum for using Square at the desk, which, is also taking a percentage out. So our fix for it was default select everything, and again, bringing it all up to the top and putting the PayPal interface at the top as well. And
well, that's a good idea. I hadn't thought of moving it.
Yeah, so it's just basically just default sorting it so the clickable stuff's on top and clicked already. So it's already all selected, and the total selected is displayed, and then the PayPal pay it is above the table, so that. Because everybody's got a fines history. I'm sorry, if you don't have a fines history, I don't know who you are. I have a fines history, and I don't get fines. So, so having people have to scroll through their entire fines history to pay $1, that was insane for us.
It's like a walk of shame.
It was horrible, exactly. So we were trying to get it to just filter out paid transactions, but that wasn't, and that might be something that we're able to do in the future. But sorry, that's my 11 o'clock robocall. And maybe that's something we can do in the future, but for now, at least having a default sort and then selecting them all so that you can pay them these all in one go. You don't have to, So that's something that we've done.
I think I selected them all and made it so that they're either all on or all off. The patron has to pay all of them. This is another area where there was dispute from one library to another what they wanted to do. So, which 51 libraries getting them to agree on anything is there's nothing short of a miracle.
Are all of their accounts? I don't know how your thing is set up. Are they all different business offices? They all take care of their own finances, or does it all go into one?
It all goes to me. It all goes to our office, and then we distribute it centrally in a not very efficient manner.
I mean, I would argue that then because it's centrally controlled, that you're able to control it centrally.
It's nice to think that way, but
I know. I compare myself to the troll in the corner in my cave, and it's like I can say whatever I want, and y'all have to. So yeah.
Well, it's 11:30. It's after 11:30. Anything else we need to talk about? Great to see everybody, as always. The next meeting will be on June 12th, right?
Yes. June 12th.
All right.
I
See y'all later.